everyone, digital media editor Warren Frey here with the inaugural episode of the TCR Express. And with me is National Managing Editor of the DCN JOC, Vince Versace, who is going to tell you what exactly the TCR Express is and what it means.
Hey, thanks for that, Warren, and hello to our loyal listeners and readers as well. So what you're listening to today is actually the inaugural branded TCR Express. Those of you that have been subscribing to us now for a bit have noticed we've been doing Wednesday drops, Wednesday podcast drops. And that's a product of the demand and the success that we've been enjoying over the last 3 years of the podcast, where those of you that have been listening have heard kind of a format change and approach change to how we've been doing our podcast every Friday. Well, what we found is even though we're kind of taking a bit more of a longer form, deeper look, a bit more produced approach to our podcast episodes on Friday, we did not want to stray away from our bread and butter. You know, the thing that has helped build the success of the Construction Record, the Daily Commercial News, and the Journal of Commerce. And that's our construction news coverage. Mm-hmm. So we thought this Wednesday episode that you're listening to today, that you've probably heard unbranded over the last couple of weeks, is our news drop of the week. It'll come out every Wednesday. Typically, it will look at the top stories that have happened on the Monday and Tuesday of that week through our two publications. And it'll also look ahead to the latter half of the week and the things we may be covering or keeping an eye on in construction through the DCN and JOC. At times, it also will have a bit more maybe teasers to some of the longer form or special podcasts that we're going to roll out. For instance, like this month is Black History Month, and we are going to have at the end of the month on our last Friday episode a podcast dedicated to Black History Month. But we'll lead you up to that with some more information, right, Warren?
Exactly. We have Don Wall recently went to the Urban Land Institute. They had a virtual event where they had 3 different speakers talking about historical context and gentrification in Toronto and something here in Vancouver, what Hogan's Alley, a community that kind of got bulldozed for the viaducts that never really turned into anything. And so Don can speak more to, and will in a few seconds, what he heard at this conference, and he'll be sort of giving us updates the next few weeks leading up to our Black History Month podcast. So without any further ado, here's me and Don talking about what he saw at that conference. I'm here with DCN staff writer Don Wall, and for the month of February, Black History Month, Don's been tackling some stories about Black history and construction and related topics. And if you could just go into, Don, what you've been covering so far and what you have coming up down the road.
Yeah, so the Urban Land Institute of Toronto, it started off marking Black History Month with a really good presentation exploring the impacts of displacement and urban renewal in Black communities. So it did a cross-Canada survey, Nova Scotia, Toronto, and Vancouver. And as I listened to it, there are 3 powerful voices, talking about 3 different issues. One in Nova Scotia related to historical injustices going back to the 1700s. Mm-hmm. Toronto's was more the last decade as Mirvish community was redeveloped. Then there's in Vancouver, Hogan's Alley, which has got renown or notoriety with its own set of injustices. So, I thought I'd start off. So I'm just writing this article today and going through the audio I have. It's quite interesting. So Angela Simmonds, she's manager of equity and access with Nova Scotia Barristers Society. Okay, Angela's been working on this land titles clarification initiative, which now includes funding for 5 African Nova Scotia communities. So going back to the 1700s, when land was settled, the terms upon which Black Nova Scotians, New Nova Scotians, and whites, the terms on which they were given land was different. So it's been a historical grievance going back to the 1700s. I'll let Angela, I've got a clip here. Let Angela explain how that developed. Pretty interesting.
First of all, foremost is to just acknowledge that African Nova Scotians in particular, Black people, that Nova Scotia is the Black presence. for us. And since we've been here since 1700. And so that's really the beginning of the Land Titles Clarification Act for me, was this involvement and discussion around promised land to, in particular, African Nova Scotians in particular marginalized communities for us, and this reality that the British government in the early 1700s had made promises to Black folks, enslaved people, promising free land, free opportunity, and resources that were available. And so the biggest issue that came to light is that the enslaved people who traveled here and fought in the war did not actually receive title or ownership. And what they received was something called a occupation of license to occupy, which means that you just occupy the land, doesn't actually give you, clear title to your land. And what this problem was is that the neighboring white settlers were given the land that was promised. So all of this to say is that it has been an historical injustice. I guided a lot of my work because I am living in one of the largest Black communities in particular Halifax in Nova Scotia.
Warren, I thought this audio, this whole presentation was so remarkable. And it's a really good learning experience for people. You think you know some semblance of Canadian history, but there were three episodes of injustices, as I say, that I was not familiar with. Thought we'd share present 5 or 6 clips of these great speakers, and it'll be a good educational experience, and it definitely relates to our sector, the construction sector. Advice offered to developers who, might be thinking of implementing plans without consulting entrenched communities that they're building amongst. So that I think that's scheduled for February 26th. Look forward to it.
Mm-hmm. Great, I'm looking forward to it, Don. Thanks.
Okay.
That was some interesting stuff from Don, and I'm looking forward to not only hearing those next samples, but also the actual podcast of the other month, which I'll hear before anybody else because I'll be putting it together. So with that, dear listeners, hope you enjoy this new offering that we're going to be giving to you, the TCR Express, every Wednesday to kind of give you your news hit of the week. And by all means, keep subscribing and keep listening to us also as well on Fridays, where we'll be sharing weekly different long form stories with you of construction. Great. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everyone.